Brian, I don't think that I'm a co-host.
All right, can I do that from the screen? I don't know. I don't know if I can do that from the screen.
Okay.
I'm gonna try. Oh, I can make you a host. That's not the same as co-host, is it?
I honestly don't know.
Alright.
It's not the same.
Okay.
I ran into that problem somehow the other day. I went to make somebody a co-host, and all of a sudden that option didn't exist anymore. I don't know.
Well, I'm not seeing it here. And I'm not going to tamper with that at this moment. Just try to keep an eye on the waiting room.
Okay. Yeah.
Hi to Shakira Gill, just posted a question. Nick Mosby will be on towards the end of the meeting. Exactly what time that is depends on how fast the meeting goes, but I would venture a guess it would be between 7:30 and 7:40. Let's give everybody a few more minutes to check in. We still have some arrivals.
Brian, I'm going to try signing in through the account. So I'm going to leave and then come back in.
Okay.
Nope. Still not a co-host. Thought maybe that would do it.
Still not, but you got in without me letting you back in. That's interesting.
Maybe I am. I thought it usually said something though.
All right, so let's give it one more minute to see if we have any last stragglers here. Yeah, we've got 20 people, so let's get started. So my name is Brian Sweeney. I serve as president of the Highlandtown Community Association. And welcome to everyone. Hopefully we'll see everybody in person in next month's meeting. It is our intention to go live for May and June meetings. We will be meeting at Breath of God Lutheran Church at the corner of South Clinton Street and East Pratt Street. Same time, 7 o'clock. We are going to do our level best to make this a hybrid meeting, but I hope everybody will do their best to attend in person because it's much more personal that way. And, we can actually have some, face-to-face dialogue between us. But one of the beauties of doing a hybrid meeting is that it actually records we can actually record the meeting for posterity. So anyone who can't make it come in and see it later. So it's got its benefits. As far as board members here today, we have Mark Parker, we have myself, John Eddy, Liz Leckie, Vanessa Friend, Nick Curley, Nick Frazone, Keith Gibson, and I don't think I've missed anyone there.
Me too.
Oh, and Ann Sawyer. I'm sorry, Ann. I'm just kind of scrolling down the list and trying to read the paperwork that's in my hand and trying to do it seamlessly and not doing a very good job, but you get the idea. So the previous meetings will be posted at www.highlandtown.com. We are a little bit behind on that, and we will do our very best to get ourselves caught up in that. But as a result of having the technology available, we're trying to get out of the habit of reviewing the previous meeting and investing a lot of time in that so that we can move forward and focus on today's meeting. So with that in mind, I will refer to our treasurer, to Liz, and just ask for a treasurer's synopsis of our treasurer's report.
Sure. So the current status of our balance of our bank account is $19,646.18. The bulk of the change over last month is due to a grant that Aaron got for the Conklin Street Garden, as well as a great turnout from the adult egg hunt that BJ hosted. And then we also have $75 in petty cash that I need to deposit from merch sales. So.
Excellent. Thank you. BJ has a hand up. Go ahead, BJ.
No, that was just because you forgot about me.
Oh, I can't forget about you.
Well, you did.
It's nothing personal. I'm just a little daft. And I thought I saw another hand up, but it's now not up. So, however, I will give BJ lots of credit for hosting our first successful fundraiser in nearly 3 years. The adult Easter egg hunt was a smashing success by virtually any standards. We had intended to sell 40 tickets, and it was a little slow starting out, which is always a little bit nerve-wracking. You don't know what to plan for, but people came in droves right towards the end and bought tickets, and we actually had more inquiries than we were able to manage. We bought food and other resources for the numbers of tickets that we sold, so we did not bring in people, the stragglers who inquired about tickets at the door or that kind of thing. However, next year we can probably bump it up to 50 people instead of 40 people. She also did a great job of getting sponsors, and so out of pocket money from the association was minimal. And how much do we make, BJ?
I think Liz said we made $920.
Yeah.
So I think it was $9.95 with the merch sales.
That's
Wow.
even better.
Yeah.
Very cool. Great job, BJ. Thank you. And moving forward on security issues and that kind of thing, Nick, do you want to talk about the cop walk a little bit? Curly?
Yeah, I'd be delighted to. Thanks, Brian. So this is a great time of year to come out and join us for the cop walks, which happen Tuesday night at 7 p.m. every week, unless it is sheeting down rain. We meet at the corner of South Conkling and Gough Street, across from Salio's and Zanino's, in front of the art gallery. And we walk with a Baltimore City police officer who typically works in this part of town and is interested in hearing about anything that happens in the neighborhood that maybe you want the police to help take a look at, or that you would like other neighbors to be aware of. But really, like, it all began because we realized that, like, we who live in the neighborhood and walk our dogs or kids to school or what have you, see a lot of things that the police might not, and might benefit from knowing, in the interest of having like a safer cleaner neighborhood. So it's been happening for like 15 plus years. Most of us do it every single week, and it's pretty social. And it's about what you want it to be and what your neighbors want it to be, because there is no set agenda. So if there is a spot where dumping is occurring, if there's a spot in the neighborhood you don't feel safe walking through alone and want some support to check things out, if there's a code enforcement violation that you'd like to see investigated, all of those things are appropriate for the cop walk and are routinely addressed by Brian and Vanessa and Michael and Janine. You know, we show up and do it every week. And we'd love for you to be there, because the diversity of participants makes sure that like different parts of the neighborhood are represented, that we're not talking about the same thing week after week after week. And, you know, broadening our focus and diversifying means that the neighborhood will continue to get the attention it requires to get better in different ways moving forward. So in short, we're going to keep doing it whether you show up or not, but it will be better with you there. So please be a part of that. Even every now and then is okay. It doesn't have to be every week. But if enough of us show up every week, we'll make a difference over time. And that's what it's all about. So with that, back to Brian.
Thanks, Nick. And we've had some real successes with this over the years. I mean, it's often hard to pick out the little victories on a case by case basis, but recently we had a success with a home that had squatters living in it and had been there for a number of years, and we worked with the property owner and the police and some other people, and I believe the home is secured now. I haven't seen it, but last week I got a message that said, hey, the people who are squatting in that house are now out on the street with a shopping cart and moving their stuff around. We don't want to be hard on our homeless population, but at the same time, we also don't want to make our vacant homes vulnerable to people who are going to be, trying to find a heat source in the wintertime or something like that, because bad things can happen. So how we manage things are always up to debate, but the fact is that one of the important things that the association does is to focus on things and make an attempt to manage these things. So we've had our successes, and we hope to continue to. So I hope people will come out. We often get the regular same police officers week after week, and we usually have just the same core group of people who are attending on the walk. And as Nick said, these are as much a social event as anything else. I mean, when I started getting engaged with things in the association, I literally showed up for cop walks, and there were people there with dogs, and we would walk the neighborhood and chat, and a lot of these people are now my friends. So there's a social aspect of it too. So don't feel like it's an obligation, but it is something we'd appreciate some help with, and it's an opportunity to meet neighbors as well. So hope to see everybody tomorrow, 7:00, and in the future. You're always welcome.
Brian, I left someone out. I have to give Heather credit, because she's there at least as much as I am, and she's a great cop walker. So
Yep.
Thanks, Heather.
Yep. Heather's
Appreciate
always
it.
here too. All right. I don't think we've got anything in the traffic category today. Kat Klosik, our board member, is our traffic liaison, and she is not able to attend tonight. I believe we're on the cusp of having something pretty cool happen at the intersection of Eastern Avenue and Elwood, and maybe there'll be some more news to share on that next month. So moving on to trash and such. The mayor's cleanup is coming up on Saturday, April 30th. So it's not this Saturday, it is the following Saturday. And how this works, this is not a dumpster day like we've seen, like we're able to do other times. There'll be more on that shortly, but this is a day when for the mayor's cleanup, rather than have their public works department out with trucks dropping off dumpsters and picking up dumpsters and running all day long. Because it's a citywide thing, that would be overwhelming for them. So what they do is they ask associations to pick out some locations where DPW will come to pick up trash. And we are registered at 4 locations. Those locations are 25 South Conkling Street. That is by the Conkling Street Garden. That will be a pickup point. South Conkling and South Claremont Street has always been a pickup point around this time because it dovetails well with the wine festival. Now, we haven't had the wine festival for a few months or a few years due to COVID, but traditionally we've had that as a pickup spot so we could focus on that block and make it nice for the wine festival, and we'll continue to do so with that. And hopefully, in fact, in all likelihood, the wine festival will be back next year. The third location is South Clinton and Goff Street. That's right here by my house. I got to phone these in, so I got to pick one. And the fourth location is East Lombard Street at South Bolden Street. All of these places are areas where DPW will come and pick up debris that is piled neatly for them to pick up. Prior to the event, I will be depositing the big kind of paper litter / landscaping bags at each corner. So there will be bags at all corners, all of these 4 corners, for people to pick up and walk into their alleys or walk their streets and pick up things. So I'm hoping that we get a good turnout this year for this. And there is not necessarily a central place to check in with everyone, but at each of these 4 locations, there will be bags available and a place to drop it off. So I encourage everyone to talk to their neighbors on their blocks and say, hey, let's all, get out in the morning and do this, and, pick up trash and clean up our neighborhood and set a good example for people who are less diligent about it. So I hope we'll get a good attendance for that. The other thing that is trash related, the Highlandtown Community Association is allowed to have 4 dumpsters a year for us to use to do our own dumpster days. It is not an enormous task to manage this, but it is something of a task. And last month, I should say, we put out a request to residents of the neighborhood to see if somebody would like to spearhead a dumpster day on their side of the neighborhood or throughout the neighborhood. But we really would like to have somebody within the neighborhood put a hand up and say, yeah, I would love to help to organize this. And what it involves is determining where you want a dumpster, what day you want a dumpster, putting out some no parking signs so that the area will be free of cars when the dumpster arrives, and to do a little bit of organizing that. I have to write the letter to the city. It has to come from the president, or I guess maybe the vice president of the association can put it on letterhead and make the request of the city to have dumpsters brought out. But aside from that, we would really like to have some people from within the neighborhood reach out. We really like to empower some people to have a dumpster on their block. Historically, we have done 2 at a time. So we've had one on the east side of the neighborhood and one on the west side of the neighborhood. If you want just one, you can arrange for that as well. But if anybody would like to help manage a dumpster day, pretty much at the date of your choosing, please email me at highlandtown21224@gmail.com. That's Highlandtown, all one word, 21224 is our zip code, at gmail.com. That forwards to me. Put dumpster day in the header so that it will jump out at me, and I'll get right back to you because I'd be very anxious to have somebody take this on. But we'd love to have somebody new from the neighborhood do this. That's all I've got on trash. Vanessa, can you give us an update on the Cafe Light Fund?
Sure. There's still money available for cafe lights. You can put your request in online through the Highlandtown website. And that's all I have. We still have funding available. You can go online and read about all the information's on there, including how-tos and pictures and items that you would need to purchase to put the lights up. The request to get funding is on there. So you would fill out that form to initially get approval. And then once your project's complete, you can submit the receipts and documentation that's needed online as well. And then we can reimburse you for your project. That's it.
Okay. Also, to make things easy, I mean, it helps to have some experience doing this. Organizing a block is never anybody's favorite and easy thing to do, but the lovely thing about cafe lights is almost everybody seems to like them. So if you're if you see that out there and you'd like to have it on your block, we can help not only to offset the finances, but we can also provide the forms and some other things to help organize your block. Because, you know, if you're going to get 8-10 people at your end of the block who want to be involved with, it's awfully hard to remember who you've talked to about what and who's paid you, that kind of thing. The program with the Highlandtown Community Association is a reimbursement program. So you have to qualify on the front side for it, and almost everybody's going to qualify if you're within the within our borders. But the first thing you really need to do is go out and talk to your neighbors when you see them out on the stoop and just say, "Hey, I'd like to do this on our block. Are you in or are you out?" It generally costs about $100 a house. Somebody on the block has to provide the power. Now, these are all LED lights. They truly use very little power. You can have a compensation plan with the people who are on your block, who are the participants on your block, and say, all right, we're going to, you know, reimburse the neighbor who's going to supply the power. We're going to reimburse them, you know, once a year at, you know, $10 a head or whatever you want to do, which is honestly more than enough to cover most installations. In the case of my block, I'm supplying the power on the block. So I did not actually contribute monetarily to it, but the cost of my, you know, having string lights in front of my house is absorbed over the course of the year by the fact that I'm supplying the power. But it's really up to the people in the block how they want to manage that. But we have suggestions, we have tips. We have a great installer that we work with. You don't have to use them, but we've got somebody to recommend if you want to use that same person. And I can tell you that most houses or most blocks, it runs about $100 a head or a household for the installation. On my block, it was $95.02 per house. That was not including me because I did not contribute cash. So how you work it is your business. But if you want help with that, please reach out. Again, Highlandtown21224@gmail.com comes to me. Put cafe lights in the header. I'll get the forms to you, but also make sure that when you've got enough people lined up that you apply for the grant money. The grant money that we have now was furnished to us by BG&E after some significant power outages, almost 2 years ago. And I have actually applied for some more money to add some money to that fund. So there is money available for that. Blockenstein. John, you want to touch on Blockenstein a little bit?
I would love to touch on Blockenstein a little bit. Blockenstein is a community yard sale. It's free for sellers. We try and keep it hyper local in the sense that we literally go door to door and put door hangers on people's doors and say Blockenstein is coming. If you would like to be a seller, I put some information in the chat. The very first chat shows how to sign up as a seller. It's going to be June 4th this year. It's 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's on Bank Street. It's 2 full blocks. We started registration already, and we have 38 sellers signed up already. So that's going well. If you're interested, look at that, look in the chat there and sign up. We'd love to have you.
And you specifically want help with outreach and flyering and door knockers and.
Yeah, I was asking the board specifically that. We have, we cover the west side of Highlandtown. That is west of Highland Avenue, every single house we do. And we find it rather exhausting to be honest. So we need help with distributing flyers or putting up posters in the windows in your home. So any help you could give me would be appreciated. Just put something in the chat for that.
Good. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I will open the floor for general comments. Before we go to Nick Mosby, we'll go to Councilman Mosby in about 10 minutes or when we're done with open floor. But does anybody from the floor have anything to offer for the group? No? Amanda?
Ryan, I can share some things from Highlandtown Main Street. First, I just wanted to thank everyone for supporting the Kite Festival that took place in April. It was really a Creative Alliance and Friends of Patterson Park event, but we did a special, we worked on specials for restaurants in Highlandtown to support them. So thanks to all of you who went and picked up food at many of our favorite Highlandtown Main Street restaurants during the event. That was really great. They all said they did better than a typical Saturday. So thank you. We're going to try more of those combo promotions with other events in the future for our businesses. I will say you've already touched on so many of the April events, but because I don't see you all until mid-May, we have a really big weekend coming up, it looks like. And my cat is also trying to crawl up my, yes, I'm so glad this meeting's being recorded. Sorry, everyone. So the first weekend in May, I'm gonna list this, but I'll drop all of this in the chat. I've grabbed some of the dates and things. Thursday, May 5th is the first Thursday WTMD concert. It's in Canton, but we should all know about it because it does bring a lot of people to our neighborhood and walking around. So just be aware the concerts are back in down on Boston Street. And then the next day, Friday, May 6th, is our May First Friday Art Walk. There's actually going to be a mural unveiling of a new mural right at the old Conkling Foam store, that new residential building that was it's a private residence. But they're doing a mural unveiling, so that's really exciting. And Peak Performance is going to be celebrating their 7th anniversary, so they're going to have a happy hour. So yeah, like really some great wins. So some new stuff and some milestone. And we haven't gotten everything in for all the other venues, but we'll list it as they come in. There's always something great at every spot. So that's Friday, May 6th. And then on Saturday, May 7th, and I will say we are not going to do a mariachi fiesta this year because on May 7th, there is the first Tianquisli market of the season put on by the Creative Alliance's Artesanas. And so that's from 3 to 7 p.m. outside of Creative Alliance. And they do a lot of dancing and celebration of their culture. So we don't want to step on toes, and that's a lot going on for them to plan and their day with Mama. So they're going to be putting that event on, and I encourage you all to go out and support the neighborhood. And keep in mind, on the very same day, also May 7th, is the Kinetic Sculpture Race. So if you wanted to park your car all weekend and stay in Highlandtown and walk around for everything, this is the weekend to do it. So that's like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, lots going on. And then I also wanted to plug a really special initiative that our office is partnering on, the Southeast CDC. It's really being put on by UMBC, C's American Studies students. It's a partnership with them to help collect and document the history of Highlandtown, utilizing sort of with these interviews with business owners who are restaurant and food based. And they're collecting the stories and oral histories and focusing on a time period from the 1980s to the 2000s. So this is kind of exciting. It's a period of time I don't think we have as much history on as prior to that. And so they're meeting with a number of our favorite business owners in the neighborhood, both along Main Street, but else, also in the rest of the neighborhood. And they're putting on an event on Monday, May 9th, because the weekend will just keep on extending with more fun stuff. In the evening from 6 to 8 at Creative Alliance, they're going to be presenting and celebrating. So I have a Facebook event I can put in the link to share with you. It's called Sabor de Highlandtown. And so they'll be sharing those stories, and some of the business owners will be there, and we'll all just be celebrating. And this is the first in a series to help collect this history. It's really important to hear the stories of our community. So they're starting this way, but I'm sure as the program progresses in subsequent semesters, they will maybe shift the focus or look at different people to interview and talk to. So those are just some of the big things going on, and I'll make a quick copy and paste and drop this all in the chat for you. Any questions?
Not for me, but thank you.
Thanks.
Mark, you have a hand up.
Yes, thanks, Brian. And good evening, everyone. Hear me all right? Yeah. All right, great. So 3 things to lift up from actually 3 different directions here. So just in chronological order, the Exchange Club of Highlandtown and Canton is a local service organization, 90 plus years old. Basically, a bunch of community members get together and raise money and get involved and try to do what we can to support kids, families, and other programs and other aspects of life in the community here in Southeast Baltimore. The invitation is for Wednesday evening down at Coladas. The 46th District delegation, so Senator Ferguson and delegates Clippinger, Lewis, and Learman will be hosted by the Exchange Club of Highlandtown and Canton at Coladas from 5:30 to 7 o'clock for an end of session updates. You all know that the General Assembly session just ended last week down in Annapolis, and so this is a chance to get together, have some food and drink, completely free, obviously, and come down and hear what they have to say, ask questions, meet other neighbors, learn a little bit more about the Exchange Club. So I'll post a link for that in the chat. So that's Wednesday, April 20th at 5:30. Dia del Nino is one of the largest kids events that we have, and it's going to be for the first time here in the community. It'll be the first time since 2019 that we've done it outdoors all together. Usually it's like 1,500 to 2,000 people. There's a dozen, 15, 20 different organizations that are all present, including our church, but it's really spirited by Friends of Patterson Park. It takes place up by the observatory there in the northwest corner of the park and everywhere around it. I mean, it really is kid-oriented. That's the whole thing. It's International Children's Day. So food, arts and crafts, piñatas, music, dancing, presentations, games to play, space to run around and just enjoy. So that's Saturday, April 30th from 11 o'clock until 2 o'clock. Saturday, April 30th from 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock, and all that's completely free. This is Dia del Nino, and I'll post that as well. And then closer to home, the Clinton Street Community Center is a new nonprofit that our church launched back in 2021 after a fire on the 100 block of South Clinton Street, wrecked some houses there and displaced some families. And so we kind of sat down to figure out what we could do there to kind of turn those properties, to rehab them as quickly as possible and turn them into productive use for the community. So the first property, which is 139 South Clinton Street, has been completed, and our first set of preschoolers, 2-year-old preschoolers, went to class today. So today was the first day of school. And then 2 weeks ago, we finally purchased the second house at 137. And that will get renovated this year over the course of the year and will be used for refugee resettlement. So like one family at a time, international refugee family will come in. We'll help support them, introduce them to this great neighborhood, help them get on their feet here. So we were aiming to do the projects at the same time, but obviously there was like a year gap between when we could purchase the two properties. So we have a combined grand opening and groundbreaking. So grand opening for 139, groundbreaking for 137 South Clinton Street on Sunday, May 1st from 12:30 to 1:30. We'd love to have you all there. You can tour the space that's currently up and running and learn more about our efforts to support families in the community, but we'd love to have you there. So again, on that 139, 137 South Clinton Street on May 1st from 12:30 to 1:30. And I'll post all those links here in a second in the chat.
Excellent. Thanks, Mark, and congratulations on the other building. I didn't know it was that far along.
Thanks.
Larry Nunley, you're up.
Yes, good evening. Just wanted to tell everyone I put my information in the chat. I did make a mistake on my email address, so I put it in a second time. If you look in the chat, you will be able to reach me at any given time. I just ask that you call it 311 for whatever your DPW issues are, and then shoot me an email with the confirmation number, your name, your address, your phone number, because there are many times I can't get into that number that is going to an agency. I want to just talk about the new water discount program. The water discount program is open to Baltimore City residents with income less than 200% of the federal poverty level guidelines. That would be close to $53,000 a year for a 4-member household. Residents must be homeowners whose name is on the water bill, tenants whose name is on the water bill and who pay the city directly for water and sewer services. Tenants whose name is not on the water bill, who do not pay the city directly for water and sewer services, must provide the following: a lease that clearly states the tenant is responsible for paying water and sewer services separately from the rent, and a lease that clearly states the amount to be paid monthly by the tenant for those services, or copy of the monthly invoice for water and sewer services from the landlord or the landlord's management company. The Water for All program is fully operational and accepting applications. A fillable application is available online by visiting https://cityservices.gov/water-for-all/initial-eligibility-check. I know that seems ominous, but I will put that in the chat as well. For more information, visit http://www.baltimoreChildren.com/residents/sign water, or contact 410-396-5555. That's 410-396-5555. Tax sale exemption program. The tax sale exemption program helps homes from going to tax sale for unpaid city bills. It's not just DPW water, it's unpaid city bills. Application deadline is April 15th. Jesus, today is what? I'm a little late on the deadline, but let's still remember that if you still have some issues, you should call. The more information will call Department of Housing and Community Development is 410-396-3000, or email DHCD tax sale info and baltimorecity.gov. That's as far as I've gotten today. I appreciate you allowing me to participate in your organizational meeting, and I look forward to hearing from different individuals who may have issues or concerns. Again, I'm Larry Nunley, and I'm your liaison. And if you're listening by phone and not have your chat, you can reach me at 443-615-2626. That's 443-615-2626. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Larry. And while I have you, I do have a question. My understanding is that people who participate in the mayor's cleanup day are able to get some stormwater credits. Can
Yes.
you elaborate on that a little bit? And can you help us get the forms?
Yes, the stormwater credits come from our recycling section. I can, if you'll send me an email, I will send you the contact information for the individual that you need to talk to, so you can get those forms to you right away, because April 30th is the mayor's spring cleanup, and everybody is, there's not a age or amount of money that you have to be qualified, meaning your income has nothing to do with this, but that will give you some stormwater credits for your water bill.
Good enough.
So if you'll send that to me right away, I will get it back to you before the week is out.
I will send you an email. So thank
Okay.
you, Larry.
All right, and like I said, I don't know if you've got this information on Water for All, but I will put the information online visiting information into the chat.
Okay,
All right.
perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
All right. Now, I
All
will
right.
also, after I get done with that, I'm sorry, after I will have to leave because I have 2 other meetings that I need to stop into. So
Okay,
thank you.
good enough. Thank you. All right, so now we're at 7:40, and is Mr. Mosby in the house? Shakir Gill, I know we corresponded on him a little bit, but I don't see him.
He is on his way. He'll be in the next about 5 minutes.
Okay. So I'll take a minute and offer to everybody regarding 311 and what Dr. Nunley said about, reporting things via 311 before you reach out to his office or to anybody at DPW or to your city councilman. Anytime you're reporting anything regarding trash or potholes or anything of the sort, your first step is always going to be 311. There is a phone app. It is free at Google Play Store. It is free at the Apple Store. It's a little bit cumbersome to set it up, but it's the way to start. And the beauty of using the app on your phone is that it tracks your history. So you don't have to go scrambling for a piece of paper when you're reporting something on 311. You could just go ahead and report it. And when you log in next time, you can always look at your history of things. And if you report something and it's not been addressed, at that point, you can reach out to myself to try to direct some services. You can reach out to Dr. Nunley, who has just posted his information in here, and say, hey, I reported this on 311 and I haven't seen anything happen yet. Push comes to shove, you can reach out to your city council representative and say, hey, I've reported this and we need some help with it. I'm going to qualify that with one thing. The 311 reporting system considers your report to be closed as soon as the 311 operators hand the case off to the responsible agency. This is a bit of a loophole in the system. In other words, if you report something on 311 today and you go back and you look at your report tomorrow, the report tomorrow may say that the case has been closed when you can look out your window and see that it has not been. All that it means when they say the case has been closed is that they have handed it off to the agency who is responsible for dealing with the problem. I know there's been some discussion about having a way to address that so that we actually know when something is considered to be resolved as opposed to when it's just been handed off. I'm hopeful that something happens to help that, but I'm not optimistic that it's going to work as well as we might all hope, because the next step beyond that is for the agency that actually cleans up the trash or fills the pothole to have the diligence to follow up and actually make sure that it's closed. So we'll see how that works, and I'm hoping for an improvement there, but there may still be some bugs in it. But don't fret when you look at something and see that it's listed as closed when you know darn well the pothole has not been filled. Does anybody else have a thing for just a minute? Well, I'm getting text messages from people who signed out. Does anybody else have anything to offer for the benefit of the community while we wait for Councilman Mosby?
Yeah, I have something if we got some time.
Sure.
Hey, everybody. My name is Scott Welkus. I'm with, I work at Fulton Bank at the Art 56 Shopping Center. And I wanted to come on and just let folks know that we were having a financial advisor day on April 28th. It's a Thursday from 10 to 1 p.m. We're bringing in our retirement advisor, and he's going to be free to talk to help answer any questions that people might have. You don't need to be an account holder. So we just kind of want to get the word out there. So if you want to know if it's too late to start planning for retirement, if it's too early, what your best move is going to be, just anything generally. So again, that'll be April 28th at Yard 56, Fulton Bank, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks.
And John, Eddie, and Nick Frazone, this sounds familiar to me. Did we post something on this?
My colleague, Nikki Santana, who lives on Conkling, had emailed you about it. So that might be why.
I don't recall, to be honest.
Scott, Nick, did you see something? I saw you unmute.
No, I didn't. No.
Scott, would you do me a favor and send that back out again? Highlandtown 21224@gmail. And
Yeah.
we can get it up on our calendar and some places. I feel like I've seen something on this. I just can't state that we got it up where we intend to get it up. We'll
Sure.
work
No worries. Appreciate that. I'll send something out to you.
Okay, perfect.
Very good.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Does anybody else have anything to offer? Ms. Gill, do we have an ETA on Councilman Mosby?
Yes, I believe he was at church just trying to finish some
Oh,
things.
wait a minute. He's here. He's here. He just popped up in my waiting room.
Thank you.
And he's connecting. And Mr. Mosby, welcome.
You guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having me tonight. Shakira, are you on and can you put on the presentation?
Yes.
Good evening, everyone.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
All
Had
right,
another
and,
event. We had me scheduled at the top of the order, but I know Shakira said you guys wanted to push me a little later, so.
Well, we always put our presenters on and late in the presentation as a sort of a time management thing so that people don't kind of roll over on everything that you're doing and dominate everything else.
I totally understand.
If people run a little long on your presentation, that's kind of on them, but we can get the regular business out of the way. So go ahead.
Smart and efficient way of operating this community association. Well, first and foremost, thank you for the opportunity to present to you tonight. Obviously, I am your council president, Nick Mosby. We've been in office for a little over a year. The one thing I'll talk about taking over as city council president, I was a councilman for 5 years, but I was also a delegate in Annapolis for 4 years. And coming back in this new capacity, this new role as president, what I really wanted to do was professionalize the council as a legislative body in a way that we had not necessarily seen that. So what does that really mean? Some of the things that we really pushed hard for was ensuring that we streamlined the committee process. When I came on, we had 15 members and we had 14 committees. Say, for instance, in Annapolis, we have 141 members in the House and we have 6 working committees. So just we were dealing with committees that had only 3 members. So to go from a great idea to putting on the council floor only needed 2 members out of the council to do that. We eliminated all of that. We scaled it down to 6 committees, where now we have 5 and 7 members per committee. We also ensure that we deployed our personnel differently. So in the past, there were 10 to 11 community liaisons. We cut that number in half and created legislative aides to, again, drive a more substantive process and approach as it relates to legislation. You know, many people are used to their council being there as like you being the eyes and the ears and your council being the conduit to city services. And constituent services is really, really important and is a pillar of what we should do and a core competency of who we are as your council. But there's another bucket that just was not necessarily being filled, and that's the legislative policy process of it all. So that's why we, again, looked at the way that committees were structured. That's why we created new positions like legislative aides and folks that actually looked at policy. And then lastly, this is why we're really pushing to develop ways where we have fiscal notes for all bills. You look at any city hall throughout the country, you look at every state house throughout the country, you definitely look at Congress. When an idea is proposed, the fiscal impact of that is also vetted to ensure that there aren't unintended consequences that we're setting ourselves up for maybe a good idea, but just maybe not the right time, or maybe things that we didn't necessarily think of. So that's how we've been really pushing to drive and create a council that is really geared towards best practices and good government of what we've been able to see throughout the country. And this is just a testament of it, this one particular package. You know, we have done also is, you know, that we have these legislative and policy packages. And this is one of the latest ones. It's called House Baltimore. And it basically looks at the way that the city has been disposed of property that the city has the authority and the right to sell, and is not necessarily benefiting or has not benefited in a wholesale way residents of the city of Baltimore. As we know, as the housing market continues to climb, as we know, as our city continues to see a lot of growth through housing, we want to ensure that Baltimore City residents have access to participate in that process, and that their government develops a conduit between renting to home ownership. And that's what House Baltimore is set up to do. So Shakira, if you could go to the 4th slide. So in the House Baltimore, no, that's it. That's the 4th. Go back, Shakira. Yeah. Back one more. So this is the series of bills that's ultimately a package. I'm just going to talk about a couple to just really jump into it. So in this House Baltimore proposal, we're proposing bringing back the Dollar House program. And many people say, well, we did that before. It worked sometimes, other times it really didn't work. What's the difference of doing it now? Well, this program, again, you know, there's about 16, 17,000 vacant properties here in the city of Baltimore. What many people don't know is the city only owns a very small percentage, about 2,000 to 3,000 of those vacant properties. What we want to do is develop a registry where Baltimore City residents, our working residents, so whether they're part of the fire department, whether they are school teachers, whether they work for DPW, that folks that live our city, that love our city, that here in our city, that they have access to these properties before anybody else. So like developing a priority prioritization associated with them. Not only will they have access to the process by going through a series of different steps, but they also get $10,000 towards down payment and closing costs, and then $50,000 as relates to fixing up these properties, which in many cases are the worst of the worst. I have a direct background in this because I bought a house from the city of Baltimore. It was abandoned for almost 20 years. It didn't have a roof. I could stand on my basement, see the sky at night. And I worked that process, and it's been very, very rewarding for me and my family. And I know that many other Baltimoreans should have that same level of access. When we look at over the past like 10, 15, 20 years, all the property that the city is selling, so it's to organizations and out-of-towners. This is a program that we want to establish to prioritize Baltimore City residents to, again, have access to home ownership. And why is that so important? Baltimore's biggest and best commodity is really our real estate. If you look at the third quarter, which is the latest numbers I have of last year, Baltimore ranked 20th in the country, doing about $480 million in that particular quarter as it relates to real estate transactions. I mean, when we look at during the pandemic, some of the bottom lines that were able to keep our city afloat was, again, the level of real estate transaction and the recordation fees and taxes that were associated with it. So Baltimore's real estate is as strong as anybody. People are coming from all across the country to look at our real estate and buy our real estate up. And that will continue to happen. But what we don't want to do is displace the hardworking men and women who are here, who are paying too much in rent that can actually own. When you say too much in rent, what does that mean? So there's statistics out there that say close to 50% of our residents pay 35% or more in their monthly take home to rent. When we know they live in communities where they're paying $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 a month in rent, where they can own for $700, $800, or $900 in an amortized mortgage while gaining equity and building generational wealth. So that's the Dollar House program that we've established. There's a frequently asked question a list on our website. You can go to baltimorecitycouncil.com and click on Dollar Homes program. Right there, you'll be able to go through all the questions to ensure that you understand and know the motivation, the intent, and then ultimately when this becomes law, how it will be executed. There's two other smaller bills that are tied to it. One is a big bill, but we, in the grand scheme of things, I call this small. But that's also a $50,000 repair grant. People say, well, Council President, where do you get this money from? Well, because of COVID, there's something called the American Rescue Plan money. Yeah. It's $641 million that the federal government gave to the city of Baltimore, which with limitations that aren't really stringent. The regulations are really allowing for us to do the things that we're talking about here. And why do I think that's important? I constantly say, like, we can take the $641 million, which we have to spend over 2 years, and we can spend it, right? We can give it to this organization. We can go after this need or go after this problem. I mean, we know Baltimore City is a big city with major city problems that have systemically been there for far too long. So we can kind of throw money and sprinkle money everywhere, or we can decide not to spend the money, but invest it and really go after something to develop generational change. And I think through housing, through home ownership, through securing our communities, provides opportunities, not just as it relates to public safety, as it relates to environmental justice, but just the ultimate growth and sustainability of our communities and our cities. So this $50,000 grant not only goes to folks that purchase homes for the Dollar House program, but it also goes to residents who lived in those same communities. That because of disproportionate amount of disinvestment and all of the ills that we see that occur in our communities on a daily basis, property values hadn't been able to increase. And the lack of property values not increasing does not provide them the opportunity to maintain the properties like in other communities where they have. So this $50,000 grant goes towards, be it roofs, windows, porches. So again, investing in our residents while investing in our community and ultimately betting on Baltimore City's future, knowing that our communities will be thriving, will be strong places, will continue to rebound. And then lastly, the last bill I'll talk about tonight is the reverse mortgage protection for seniors. Many of our seniors are caught up in these reverse mortgages where they're getting foreclosed on for minimal amount of monies because of not being able to clear up an issue here or there. So this is just a $5,000 grant that's open citywide to develop some level of consumer protection for our seniors who are sometimes caught up in some of these predatory type of products. And that's it. That's what we're going to talk about tonight from like a House Baltimore perspective. One, to provide you some background on what we've been doing as your council as it relates to the structure and like how we see us moving forward and this idea of professionalizing the council in the right way. And I think House Baltimore is just indicator of that, of really trying to develop substantive legislation to go after and tackle structural issues that have been plaguing our city for far too long. And I don't care if you live in North Baltimore, South Baltimore, East or West, when you drive through our city, we see it. It's glaring at us every single day. Unfortunately, it's somewhat becoming normalized because we see it every single day. But when out-of-towners come in and they see the level and concentration of dilapidated properties in our community, it's just completely unconscionable. Last thing I'll talk outside of House Baltimore, we have a couple other bills that are really trying to focus on how can we turn these vacant properties into and put them in either in productive hands, folks that are actually going to work on them and fix them up and not just speculate on them, but where they can become assets to the community. We understand and know in West Baltimore, we lost 3 firefighters to a vacant property that had been vacant for several years. It wasn't the first time that fire was there. It's not the first time that firefighters were injured in that particular structure. We put in a bill a couple weeks ago to basically pass the emergency attention fee that, when we go out, when our firefighters are deployed in these vacant properties, the vacant property ownership took part of the bill. It's the reason that people are able to go in and set fires because their properties aren't properly secured. No longer can we allow for just a cost of doing business by someone owning a vacant property and paying just a couple $100s to hold on and speculate with the idea that one day the community is going to turn around and they're going to make a windfall in equity off of that particular property. So with that, I know it's been a really, really busy night for you. I'll end there. Definitely open up for any questions or concerns that you have at the time.
Well, I'll just offer that I think it's wonderful to have a dollar house program that really focuses on existing residents of the city. Not only does it help people get a leg up, but it also, it keeps the money in the city because historically, I think a lot of the dollar houses went to investors and they may not have cared about the property and allow the place to become run down and charge exorbitant rents for them. So yeah, if we can put them into the hands of residents who will care for them, that's a win-win for everyone. So good news. Nick?
Thanks, Brian, and thanks, Mr. Mosby. Quick question. So as far as the all the different housing resources and the repair resources, that sounds really awesome. And I'm just wondering, is there any sort of built into the legislation, is there any vision for helping the people of Baltimore connect to those resources? Like, what's the strategy to actually reach people where they are? Because I know the different communities in Baltimore, especially low-income individuals, can be really hard to reach. So I'm just interested to know if that's part of your plan. If you'd speak to that, I'd appreciate it.
No, that's actually a really great question. You could come up with the best piece of legislation, but if you can't execute it in a way where the folks or the entity or the situation that you want to provide opportunities to, if it's not getting to them, what's the point of it? Inside of the bill, for the Dollar House program, in order for you to get access to the registry, in order for you to get accepted in a program, you have to go through a HUD pre-approved home ownership program. And there's currently 12 organizations in the city that all have access to this program, that are certified to give out that program, as well as many institutions and banks. But it's our idea that they would be the conduit of one, not only identifying individuals that would be able to take advantage of a program like this, but also be there to ensure that working through the program, individuals kind of understand and know exactly what they need to do, and how they need to do it. That program has been extremely successful when you look at the foreclosure rate and just the maintenance, the maintaining of property associated with individuals who kind of come through programs like that. Again, we really want to try to develop ways of providing a pipeline for folks who are currently renting in our city, that love our city, that work in our city, to provide a pipeline for them to just own in our city. Because again, we know that property values will continue to exorbitantly increase. And there's going to come a point where it's going to be really challenging for working class individuals in our city to own property in our city. So that is the point, but you're exactly right. And it's our hope that partnering with those 12 organizations, as well as with the financial institutions that are already very supportive of this, that they will be great stewards and conduits of not only engaging, but educating our residents on all the different grants and programs that they have access to.
Excellent, thank you. Does anybody else have anything for Council President Mosby? Okay. Well, thank you, sir. It's been informative, and we'd love to talk again, offline, online, whatever the case may be. So
Well,
I
we're
wanna thank
always
you for your,
here. Shakira from our team is on. She attends your meetings. If there's anything that we could come on, any questions that you guys might have, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks for the opportunity for coming on and speaking to you tonight.
you got it. Have a great night. Thank you.
See you guys.
All right, so that wraps up for tonight. I will remind everybody that next month we're going live again. We're going back to live meetings with a hybrid component starting in May and then in June. And, hopefully, for the rest of time. We will meet, as always, the third Monday of the month. We'll meet at Breath of God Lutheran Church at the corner of South Clinton Street and East Pratt Street. And I hope to see everybody there. And that's all for tonight. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great night.
Night.
Night.